Today I'm going to be draining all the coolant in the 300 CE. I'm going to go ahead and change out the hoses, the radiator, we'll pull that guy out, the expansion tank, and we'll see how much we get done. I'll change out all the cooling stuff I have for it. I have a coolant sensor for the reservoir. I got the expansion tank, the cap, all the hoses, new coolant, and most importantly the radiator, which was leaking as you guys saw in the last video. So I'll go ahead and drop those things in. We'll start disassembling right now. First we'll drain the we'll drain the coolant, and then we'll get to removing some of the parts. All right, we're under the car. You're gonna wanna grab your 8mm, take off the under panel, and then here's a drain plug. You loosen this guy, and the coolant's gonna pour out here. We gotta lower the car. All right, now we got the coolant draining. For the most part. You could take off your hoses, so undo this guy, and not sure if the new radiator comes with that. If it doesn't, that'll be an issue. We may break this one. We might have to order one from the dealer. I'm gonna take this off. All right, now we'll pop the shroud out. Fan shroud. So we got this hose on the side here. Put that on the side. Try not to knock over. We don't need to take that off. We do need to take these pins off. Let's take this Alright. We got this hose new. We'll probably reuse the clamps. And now we could pop this off here. Get a pick to pull that out. That fell, but that's all right. Need this. Okay, we got this shroud out of the way. Get our other clip here. Now, we'll loosen the trans cooler line. All right. Okay, we got the trans cooler line out of the way. Put that back here. We got one more line down there. Just loosen that one. We have one more line down here. Which I already cracked. Okay. Lose some oil. Now we can get to that screw on the bottom. As always, you will miss the target with coolant. So it is what it is, but we'll let that drain and then take the tabs off the top here, here, here. And we'll pull the radiator out. Actually, I lied. Still gotta get one more hose off, which is this guy. And then we could pull it out. Go ahead and pull these guys out.
3. Now we'll get this hose out of the way. Let's slide this up. There will be more coolant coming out. We'll tilt it over. And there you have it. Boom. And this is garbage. You've got 1, 2 10s. Pop those off. Then this is just pressed in there. So you gotta. Are you kidding me? There's a wire. Okay. Got it. We're gonna clean this area out here where the reservoir goes. Get some compressed air in there. Blow that out. And while we have everything out, I'm gonna just do the cap and rotor because it's very easily accessible. We take this guy, put in here. It only goes one way, like so. Yeah, these are good. When you have good pliers, you can do wonders. That's done. Yeah. Okay. And that's all installed. I'm gonna clean this up nicely. All right, our reservoir is in. 210 millimeters tightened. New coolant level sensor in. When I was unplugging the old one, it disintegrated. One of the pieces just completely was off. It was caked and wasn't even on the connector. So coolant was probably pouring out of this old seal and corroded this, dry rotted the plastic. When I went to press and take it apart, it just disintegrated. So we'll have to fix that. Now let's move on to the cap and rotor. You're going to want to slide this front cover off. There are 2 tabs, left and right, which are pretty easy to remove, and that pops right up just like that. And then we will move on to taking off these Allen bolts and taking the cap off. These come out relatively easily as well. You might need an extension for that bottom one, but once you get that out, that'll free up the cap, and you don't need to unplug all of the leads yet because you're going to want to put them back in the order that you remove them in. So doing one at a time will be the smart thing so that you don't mix up the wires and then you will have a misfire issue. So once we get these removed, we'll have access to the rotor. And upon inspection, these leads look to be very worn and there's a deep groove in them. So this thing definitely could have been causing some starting issues. There's also some cracks in the housing. The rotor itself does look okay, but we'll go ahead and grab our new parts and get those installed. We'll also be changing the rubber O-ring that goes around the dust cap that prevents moisture from getting into the distributor cap and rotor. That is the #1 cause of misfires and issues with these older cars, is the moisture that gets in there and gets trapped. So want to make sure we replace that and get everything sorted. All right, we are all done, and then the cover just slides back on here, and that's a wrap for the cap and rotor. Now we'll put in our radiator. It'll slide right into place. There's 2 tabs at the bottom that you'll see that the radiator slides into, and then we'll go ahead and put our clips back in and start reassembly. Before the clips go back in, don't forget the rubber grommets that you should remove from your old radiator that rest against the radiator support right there, as you can see. And then the clips will go over the rubber grommets and into that hole right by my left hand. And that'll secure the radiator to the radiator support. Now we can start putting our hoses back on. The lower hose will go on first, and then we'll put on the upper hose, and then we'll move on to the expansion tank hose. Now that the hoses are fitted, we'll get to the lower trans cooling lines that go into the radiator and tighten those up snug. Don't overdo it. You could easily crack the radiator plastic. Snap in the expansion tank hose, get that fitted in, tighten up the clamps, and clip it into the shroud. Next up, we had to fix that wire that was broken on the expansion tank, so we'll grab our heat gun and go ahead and put a heat shrink on that, strip the wires back. And I did have an extra clip with the same fitting because the other one was completely gone. So I was able to salvage that, although I didn't have the housing for the plastic, but it will work as intended. After we finish soldering, we'll go ahead and top off the cooling system, check for leaks, and we'll be all set with that. Now we're under the car, and we're going to be doing the drain and fill on the diff. Right here is the fill plug. I've already taken out the screw. I've already drained the oil as well, and that's on the other side of the diff. There's a bolt that's lower. It's very hard to see in here, but I did get that out. Now we're going to be filling it with a filler tool, and I'll show you that process. So you will grab your fill tool, and once you're finished filling the differential, you'll know it's full because it'll start to dribble out very slowly, and that's your note to cap it off and close it off, wipe off the excess, and you are finished filling the differential. All right, so the cooling system is wrapped up. I'll show you guys everything and how it looks put back together. Now we're going to be tackling the front and rear brakes. That will be pads and rotors and sensors. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then this thing will be
all finished. So let me show you what it looks like with the complete repairs. Here's the radiator, the new Nissan's radiator. Got the new overflow, new radiator cap, new hoses, here, new coolant. So car is ready to roll. Now we're gonna move on to the brake. I've got the car lifted up. I'm gonna throw some jack stands underneath there, and then we will get to working on the rear brakes and the front brakes. So let's get to work.
We'll go ahead and take off the bolts with the 17, and then we'll spray down the bolts on the caliper with some PB Blaster, let that sit, knock out our pins on the caliper, and remove the bolts after that. Then we'll take out our hardware for the brake pads and the sensors, and we'll then pop off the rotor, and that will take some persuasion. Also, the bolts are probably seized on. Some corrosion buildup here on the actual bolt itself. Sometimes these are a pain to get out, and you could strip them. So let that penetrating oil or spray sit there, and take your time with it, because you're going to be in a world of pain if you got to be drilling that thing out. I also pushed the pistons in with the old pads by using a flathead or a small pry bar. The pistons will move separately if you try to do them individually, so you have to have a flat surface area to push up against. So if you're replacing the rotors and the pads, you can do that safely without damaging anything. In my case, the back bolts were a pain in the neck to get out. I was able to later get a impact in there by turning the wheel, and I was able to break free the caliper bolts and get everything apart. But yeah, that was no fun.
All right, well, that was a pain in the ass to get those two bolts loose, but I was able to fit the impact in there once I turned the wheel. And then just a hammer and a wrench on the top one broke free. So let's go ahead and finish this up, get this new rotor on.
All right, new pads and rotors and sensors are in. Same step for all the other sides and the rear, so no need for me to show you guys that. Pop your wheel back on, torque to spec when the car is on the floor, and then test drive, and we should be all good.
We are all done with the brakes. I'm gonna go ahead and drive the car, and that should be it for this thing. The customer still wants me to get the AC checked out, so I'll go ahead and get that recharged. And yeah, that wraps it up for the series. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And if you guys are looking for a pre-merger or anything rare and you want me to take a look at it or work on it, shoot me a DM, reach out. I'll catch you guys on the next one.